My first heat should have blessed me, but instead it began to kill me. Welcome back, wild hearts. Tonight's tale is not for the faint of heart. And if you're new here, don't forget to subscribe because what you're about to hear is fire, flesh, and fate itself. The forest was heavy that night. Silver mist curling between the trees. The air thick with pine and silence. Every breath I took seared my lungs. Heat surged through my body like wildfire, fevered and merciless. My wolf should have awakened, should have been my strength, but instead she was tearing me apart from within. My legs shook as I stumbled forward, vision blurring. With each step, my essence seemed to bleed away, my wolf energy draining until I could scarcely feel her presence. I pressed a trembling hand against the bark of a tree, nails scraping deep grooves, but my body betrayed me. A strangled sound broke past my lips. Not like this, I gasped, my voice raw. I don't want to die like this. My knees buckled. Darkness swirled at the edges of my vision. The world tilted, and I collapsed onto the cold earth. A shadow moved. Heavy boots pressed against the soil, steady, unhurried. A presence swept over me like a storm rolling through the woods. Garrick, the Alpha King. The sharp scent of him hit first. Power and iron will, wild and unrestrained. Strong arms lifted me as though I weighed nothing. My head lolled weakly against his chest, and through my haze I felt it, the hard wall of muscle beneath his tunic, the thunderous rhythm of his heartbeat. Through blurred eyes, I caught a glimpse of his face, illuminated by the moon. A jaw carved with merciless strength, black hair falling to his shoulders, eyes of molten gold burning with something fierce, something unyielding. Please, my lips parted on a broken whisper. Don't let me die. The sound that tore from his chest was a growl, low and furious. Not at me, but at fate itself. His voice rumbled close to my ear. I won't. The forest faded as he carried me deeper into the shadows. When my eyes opened again, there was the rough shape of a hut. Timber walls, stone hearth, tucked away from the world. His hidden refuge where no crown or guard could reach him. He kicked the door open, the scent of old wood smoke rushing out, and carried me inside. He laid me gently upon furs spread across the floor. My body arched in agony, heat racking my frame. I clawed at the fabric beneath me, nails tearing it, a sob breaking past my throat. It hurts, I whimpered, tears spilling hot down my cheeks. It hurts so much. Garrick knelt at my side, his hand pressed to my damp forehead, broad, calloused, yet impossibly gentle. For a man feared across kingdoms, his touch was reverent, almost trembling. Your first heat should not be killing you, he said, voice low, tight with fury. His gaze softened, but his tone cut like steel. Your body is burning itself alive because you've never been claimed. The word struck me like a brand. Virgin, untouched, unwanted. Shame burned hotter than the fever. My chest heaved as I turned my face away, tears clinging to my lashes. Then let me die, I whispered, my voice breaking. His hand snapped to my chin, forcing me to look at him. His golden eyes blazed, molten fire in the shadows. No. The word slammed through the hut like a decree, sharp, final. I will not let you fade. Not here. Not like this. Another wave of heat racked my body, and I sobbed, trembling beneath him. Then help me, please. Silence coiled between us, charged and dangerous. His chest rose and fell, each breath drawn with restraint that shook his massive frame. He leaned closer, voice guttural, thick with warning. You don't understand what you're asking me, little Omega. If I take you now, you'll never belong to another. My lashes fluttered, weak, desperate, but resolute. I met his gaze. Then let me belong to you. The fire snapped, casting his face in gold and shadow. His hands trembled as he hovered above me, the predator and the man warring in his eyes. His voice dropped, dark and faded, a vow that sealed my destiny. Then so be it. Tonight you are mine. My sharp intake of breath was the last sound before the night consumed us both. Garrick hovered above me, his massive frame trembling with restraint. Every breath he drew was ragged, as though my scent was a weapon cutting through his self-control. He wanted to deny it, to resist the pull of instinct, but my body writhed beneath him, my heat tearing me apart, and he knew that without him, I would not last the night. My voice broke in the darkness. Please, Garrick, don't let me die. The sound of his name on my lips destroyed the last of his hesitation. With a guttural growl, he surrendered, not as a conqueror, but as the savior I had begged for. When he touched me, I arched as if fire had met storm. My cry echoed through the hut, raw, unrestrained. Shame streaked my cheeks in tears, but need blazed brighter. Garrick steadied me with words gritted out between clenched teeth. Breathe, little one. I've got you. The walls seemed to shake with every movement. The crackle of firelight painted our shadows across rough timber. My slender frame caught against his unyielding strength. I clutched at him, not to push him away, but to hold on, to anchor myself as the storm of my heat devoured me. My whimpers tangled with his low groans, the two sounds entwining like a vow. Every thrust of his power was met with my sobbing surrender, each moment pushing me closer to the edge between agony and ecstasy. "Garrick," I gasped, half plea, half confession. "I can't." "Yes, you can," he growled, pressing his forehead against mine, his breath hot and uneven. "You are stronger than you know. I won't let you break." My body answered before my lips could. The fire that had been consuming me from within flared, then shifted, no longer devouring, but igniting. What had been pain transformed into release, into wild, trembling life. When it crashed over me, my scream filled the hut, echoing like a hymn to survival. Garrick held me tighter, his grip bruising, his voice breaking into a groan of his own, as if the storm of my heat had dragged him under too. The aftermath was not silence, but the frantic rush of breath. I collapsed against his chest, trembling, my tears damp against his skin. For the first time since my collapse in the forest, my body no longer fought to die. It clung to life. Garrick's voice rumbled low, hoarse but steady. "You're safe now. You will never burn alone again." My lashes fluttered, my lips parting as though to speak, but no words came, only the sound of my broken, grateful sob against the Alpha King's heart. And in that moment, with my fragile frame curled in his arms, Garrick knew this was no act of mercy. This was a bond forged in fire, one neither of us would ever escape. The fire in the hearth had burned low, leaving only a faint glow that painted the hut in flickering golden shadow. The storm of our bodies had quieted, but the silence that followed was heavier than before. I lay against Garrick's chest, my breath still uneven, my hair tangled across his skin. Every part of me felt raw, stripped of every shield I had ever worn. Pride, fear, shame. They had all been burned away in the furnace of my first claiming. Only this remained, the steady rise and fall of his chest beneath my cheek, the weight of his arms holding me as if I were the most precious thing he had ever carried. For a moment, I let myself sink into it, his warmth, his scent, the rough furs beneath us. But then shame returned like a creeping shadow. The memory of my begging, of my cries, of how easily I had surrendered, burned me from the inside out. My fingers twitched, and with a shaky breath, I tried to slip free from his embrace. If I could just move away, hide my face, maybe I could reclaim some part of myself. But before I could, his grip tightened around my waist. A low growl rumbled from his chest, vibrating against my ear. "Don't." My body went still, my heart slamming against my ribs. I dared to glance up at him. His golden eyes caught the firelight, sharp, unyielding. "You didn't beg for death," he said, voice deep, steady, and impossibly certain. His thumb brushed my cheek, forcing me to hold his gaze. "You begged for me. Remember that." My lips parted, but no words came. Shame warred with something darker, something hotter, because his words were true. In my desperation, I had not begged for life. I had begged for him. My breath hitched, my cheeks burning. I wasn't myself. The corner of his mouth curved, not in amusement, but in something darker, hungrier. "You were more yourself than ever. Stripped bare. No lies, no masks. Just you. Mine." The word hit me like a mark branded onto my soul. Mine. I trembled. "You make it sound as if I had a choice." "You did," he rumbled. His hand slid slowly down my back, pressing me closer until my trembling body was flush against his. His lips brushed my ear, heat spilling into my skin with every word. "And you chose me." The fire crackled. Outside, the wind whispered through the trees. Inside, the heat rose again between us. I closed my eyes, my body betraying my shame as it pressed instinctively closer. The ache that had nearly killed me had transformed into something else, something hungry, trembling, alive. Garrick shifted, and the movement drew a soft gasp from my throat. His lips brushed my temple. "There it is," he murmured. "The truth your body can't hide." I wanted to protest, to deny it, but the words tangled in my throat. All I could do was cling to him as the fire in my blood flared hotter. This time there was no desperation in my pleas, no fear of death driving my cries. It was want, raw, wild, unrelenting. Our second night burned hotter than the first. My whimpers filled the hut, echoing off the timber walls, tangled with his low growls and ragged breaths. He moved with the same dominance as before, but slower, more deliberate, as though teaching me something I had never known before. That surrender could be pleasure, not pain. Every movement seared me with new intensity. Every whispered word branded me deeper. You are mine, Alaris. You are not weak. I will break every chain that ever told you otherwise. My body answered him, trembling, writhing, surrendering. And in that surrender, I felt my wolf stir, alive again, howling in the depths of my soul. When release finally came, it was not like falling into fire. It was like being consumed by it, claimed and remade in its blaze. My cry filled the hut, my nails digging into Garrick's skin, as though holding on to the very man who had pulled me back from death. And he, the Alpha King feared by all, buried his face against my throat and groaned my name as if it were the only word that mattered. In the silence that followed, he didn't let me slip away. His arms caged me against his chest, his breath warm against my skin. You will never run from me, he murmured, his voice a vow. Not in shame, not in fear. You are mine, and tomorrow the world will know it too. I closed my eyes, my heart hammering. Tomorrow was still a mystery. But tonight I belonged to him, and nothing could break the fire we had ignited together. The first light of dawn filtered weakly through the cracks in the hut's timber walls, brushing my pale skin with strokes of silver. I stirred against Garrick's chest, the weight of exhaustion heavy in my limbs, though the fire inside me had quieted. For the first time since my collapse in the forest, I felt something unfamiliar. Alive. My lashes fluttered as I woke to the steady rhythm of his heartbeat beneath my cheek. His arms were still around me, unyielding, protective, as though he had not slept at all but kept watch through the night. The thought stirred a strange warmth low in my chest, though it was quickly chased by shame. I had begged him, surrendered to him, clung to him in ways I could not even bear to remember without blushing. I shifted, trying to put distance between us. But Garrick's hand moved instantly, pressing me closer. Still trying to run, his voice was rough with fatigue, but edged with quiet authority. You won't win. My cheeks burned. I wasn't. You were, his golden eyes fixed on mine, pinning me as surely as his arms. And you'll stop. Before I could argue, he stood, lifting me as though I weighed nothing. I startled, clutching at his shoulders, but he ignored my protest and carried me across the hut. On a low wooden table sat a loaf of bread, dried meat, and a flask of water. He sat me gently on his lap, one arm anchoring me against him as he tore off a piece of bread and brought it to my lips. I can feed myself, I whispered. I know, he said, his mouth curving into something that wasn't quite a smile. But I'll feed you anyway. Reluctantly, I opened my mouth, and he pressed the morsel past my lips. His gaze never left my face as I chewed, the gold of his eyes softening with something I couldn't name. He gave me water next, the rim of the flask brushing my lower lip, his thumb catching the stray droplet that slipped down my chin. The touch was simple, and yet my heart stuttered as if he had claimed me all over again. When I had eaten my fill, Garrick shifted, pulling a clean tunic from a chest in the corner. He draped it over my trembling form, his large hands smoothing the fabric down my shoulders, his knuckles brushing my skin with deliberate care. There, he murmured. No shame, no cold. I swallowed hard, my chest tightening. Why are you? Because you're mine, he cut in, his tone sharp but his gaze impossibly tender. And mine will never go hungry, never freeze, never doubt their worth. My lips parted, but no sound came. The words settled deep into me, heavier than chains, warmer than fire. And then his mouth was on mine. The kiss was nothing like before. It wasn't driven by desperation, by the savage fire of my first heat. It was slow, deliberate. His lips moved over mine with patience, reverence, as if he had all the time in the world to teach me what it meant to be touched without fear. My body softened, my hands sliding up to clutch at his tunic. When his tongue brushed mine, a broken moan slipped free, soft, startled, and wholly unguarded. He swallowed it with a low growl. Garrick laid me back on the furs, his body covering mine with lethal grace. But this time he didn't rush. His mouth traced a slow path along my jaw, my throat, the curve of my shoulder. Each kiss lingered, each touch deliberate, as though he worshipped rather than claimed. I trembled, my breath catching. Garrick, what are you doing? Showing you, he murmured against my skin, his voice dark and reverent, that this is more than survival. When he entered me again, it was nothing like before. His pace was slow, torturous, each movement sending waves through me that built higher and higher. I arched, gasping, the sound of my moans filling the hut like music. This time, they weren't cries of pain or shame. They were cries of pleasure, raw and unrestrained. My nails dug into his back, my body rising to meet him without hesitation. Each thrust, each brush of his lips against my ear, unraveled me further until I was shaking apart beneath him. He held my gaze the entire time, watching me fall apart with a reverence that stole my breath. His golden eyes burned into me as he whispered, "Beautiful mind, perfect." The fire inside me, once cruel, now burned with ecstasy. When I broke, I cried his name, my voice ringing with pleasure so sharp it brought tears to my eyes. And Garrick followed me, his groan ragged, his arms tightening as though he would fuse my body to his. We collapsed together onto the furs, breathless, trembling. I pressed my face into his chest, overwhelmed, unable to look at him. But Garrick tilted my chin up, forcing me to meet his gaze. "Do you see it now?" he asked softly. "That intimacy is not a curse. That with me, it is more than survival." My lips trembled. My voice was faint, but the truth slipped free. "Yes." His mouth brushed mine again, slow and claiming. "Good," he whispered. "Then remember this night, little Omega. Remember it was the first time you truly lived." And as I lay wrapped in his arms, the fire glowing softly around us, I realized he was right. This was the first night I had truly lived, and I would never forget it.